Hello, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. I am B. And before I start, I have to say a huge thank you to everybody that has reached out to me and offered me some love, support, and all the comments. I really greatly appreciate them. This has been a rough stretch. Again, the physical pain that I'm in as of late has been excruciating. And a lot of that is this mouth stuff that has been going on. And I don't know how much, because it kind of goes back. I try to not talk about my physical pain very often and just try to deal with it because it's been such a crazy journey through years. So just to give you some background, in 2019, I had a severe infection in my mouth, as well as a lot of sinus troubles. I was a smoker at the time. I had sleep apnea at the time. I was diagnosed with diabetes at the time. So that was one of the main reasons that I had quit smoking. I hit that rock bottom and the whole breathing situation was getting a little bit funkier by the minute and my oxygen levels were dropping severely. When I had this infection in my mouth, the dentist that I was seeing at the time pulled a tooth and said that should solve the problem and here's a course of antibiotics. The antibiotics didn't work. I was experiencing pain and they said, here's another course of antibiotics. Ended up being 4 courses of antibiotics and the pain didn't go away. And the next tooth in the line started to buzz and feel a crazy vibration. And I went to the dentist and pleaded for them to take it out. I had to sign a waiver because they were like, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the tooth. And I'm like, it's buzzing around my mouth. It's moving around. You need to take it out. It's poking and piercing my sinus. And so they pulled that tooth. Then the next tooth in line started to feel extreme pain and a vibration and a buzzing. And I, at this point, was kind of like, okay, I don't think my dentist knows what's happening, so I'm going to find another dentist. So I did a search for another dentist who said, there doesn't appear to be anything wrong with your tooth that I can see, so I'm going to suggest you go to a neurologist and get tested for neuropathy, trigeminal neuralgia. I think that's what you have. So I went to a neurologist and the neurologist ordered an MRI. You have to understand, all of these have been like gaps of 3 months to 10 months windows between getting into seeing a specialist with this, waiting lists and whatnot, and then getting the test done for whatever the specialist wanted, and then, getting the results. So first up was an MRI. And the MRI test came back clean. There was no discernible thing on the MRI, that no blood clots that should have been causing pressure on the trigeminous nerve. And but the neurologist, having a very large ego, wasn't satisfied with saying, I don't know, or look here. Instead, he just decided to diagnose me anyways with idiopathic trigeminal neuralgia, which I now call idiopathic because he just was randomly pulling that out of thin air. And even though none of my symptoms presented by trigeminal neuralgia, because the pain has been constant, it has never once gone away, it gets bad and then it gets worse. It doesn't get gone at any time. And so now that I had that word associated, the next couple of dentists that I went to, I guess just assumed that I was talking nonsense and the pain was all in my head. And they really quite gaslit me. They really downplayed the situation. The next dentist at least ordered a CT scan which I'm pretty sure he lost, because when I went in for my CT scan results, he told me that everything was fine. And when I finally got my hands on a copy of the CT scan, everything was not fine. There were a lot of things that weren't fine. And meanwhile, he had recommended, first he had sent me to an endodontist, and the endodontist said everything was fine. And I was like, but I'm in extreme pain, so everything's not fine. Then he sent me to a quack, a retired biological dentist who was called herself a specialist in finding the impossible, and charged me an arm and a leg, and diagnosed me, and I think I've done videos in the past with NICO, she called it, which was necrosis, cavitation, I don't even know anymore, and that her treatment was the only treatment that was going to solve my problems, and her treatment was going to cost me $2,500. And in excruciating pain that I was in, I was like, I guess this is what I have to do, because she had me so scared that I was going to die because of this condition if I didn't get this treatment, because she was the only one in all of Canada that did this treatment. And if this treatment didn't work, I would have to go to Texas and have radical surgery. At no point did somebody suggest I go and speak to an oral surgeon. I'll just add that. But then, because of the results of the CT scan that I finally got hold of, I should also mention, actually, I had thermo imaging done, which cost me also over $1,000, which proved that I couldn't have trigeminal neuralgia because there was inflammation in the tissue all around my mouth and down my neck, which showed signs of infection. When I went to my doctor and said, listen, these are my results, this is what I've gotten, I would like a prescription for antifungals in case this is a fungal-based infection, which wouldn't have been cured by the 4 doses of antibiotics the dentist had previously given me, she refused. She refused to give me antifungals and said, I'm not going to give you that medicine without proof that you have a fungal infection. So we will have to wait and see until you go in to see an ear, nose, throat doctor, which was going to be a 12-month wait list. And then I finally got into the ear, nose, throat doctor, and they said, well, I can't prove anything without a CT scan, so I'm going to order a CT scan for you, and that's going to be another 10 months. So I had the CT scan back in November, December of this last year, and I'm still waiting to get in to see them for the follow-up tests to get the results. In the meantime, I have found a 5th dentist that I've gone into, and that 5th dentist suggested that I get a root canal done on this tooth that has been bothering me for now 5 years in the chronic pain that I'm in, because there was significant sign on the CBT scan that said that there had been damage and that infection was likely to still be present in that tooth. So I got a root canal done in summer of last year sometime, which didn't help the pain at all. And then because the pain was still persistent and getting worse, I finally went in and begged them to please remove the tooth. There's no point saving a sore tooth that is in pain, even though the tooth itself couldn't technically be in pain, even though all around the tooth felt like pain, because the tooth no longer had a nerve, a functioning nerve. However, there are nerves that go around the tooth. And so he pulled this tooth 3 weeks ago, and I've been convalescing and doing all of the things that you're supposed to do post extraction, with a lot of salt rinses, Ayurvedic therapy, which is a concoction that I made myself for oil pulling, which consists of coconut oil, turmeric, clove oil, oil of oregano, and tea tree, a mixture. So I've been swishing that in my mouth continuously, as well as nasal irrigation, as well as sesame oil up my nose, as well as homeopathic spritzers up my nose, because there's an interconnection, there's communication that's happening between the sinus and my gum. And I've been saying for close to 3 years now, I think I'm breathing through a hole in my mouth. Is that possible? I kept asking multiple people that I've seen, and they all were like, So now that this tooth has been extracted, I shoved a phone up my mouth with another phone with the flashlight, and can clearly see the extraction site. And then beside the extraction site that would have been previously hidden in between the two teeth, there is in fact a hole there. And there is in fact a condition called an oral annual fistula, which is a channel that connects your sinus, maxillary sinus, to your mouth, that has been created through infection. So for the last 5 years, it would seem that the infection had created a hole, a passageway, and every time I breathe, it aggravates a nerve, and then it feels like I'm being electrocuted in my mouth. And so now that I have photographic evidence to say, hey, wait a second here, there's something physically wrong, which I could never understand why nobody was saying there was something physically wrong, because again, we go back to the neuropath, neurologist, who was like, there's no signs of anything, there's no physical examples. And I'm like, but there is a physical example, because you can see right here, there's like a massive indentation and discoloration on my gum that goes like this. So there is something physical at play, and none of the dentists looked at that and said anything. Yeah, I could show you. It's got like a definitive line that I can see with my eyeballs. And now I can see with my eyeballs a tiny little hole right in between. So where the two teeth were, you wouldn't have been able to see it because the gum came down in front, the gum came down in back. So granted, I can understand why many of these dentists would have said, well, one, it's not the tooth, because it's not the tooth, it's in between the two teeth. And why it wouldn't have shown up on x-rays, because the teeth are like overlapped like this. So unless they had done a different angle of x-ray, I don't know. The CBT scan clearly shows there's a darker pathway, but maybe that's something that nobody noticed. I don't know what the CT scan results are because I haven't had them yet. But I can physically see with my eyeballs. And so I'm, as you know, have spent the majority of my life being gaslit. And being gaslit in a medical setting where people keep telling you that there's nothing wrong with you, and or they don't know, and treating you like you're kind of like crazy a little bit because you're experiencing pain, because you have an exposed nerve in a channel that shouldn't be there, that needs to be surgically fixed. It is highly triggering. It's highly triggering. And in light of everything else that's been going on as of late, with another round of ego death coming in, and I think that we get triggered on this awakening path in so many ways. Physical aches, pains, illnesses, diseases is one of the major initiations, and I call it initiation because it seems to me like it's something that many of us have to overcome, as well as all the emotional losses, as well as all the stresses, as well as, escaping from like narcissistic abuse. I've done a video in the past about the initiations of an awakening. And then this twin flame journey adds another whole element of crazy into the mix as like an initiation you need to overcome. So where I've been for the last, few days is really facing my shadow, because I've talked in a lot of videos on the process of ego death, and please check out my videos in the Dark Night of the Soul playlist. Because how it works in my personal experience is ego stands guard in front of this electric fence that you've created, and in behind that electric fence is all your aspects of self, all your wounded children, and like you have loads and loads of wounded children, but you also have lots of other aspects of self that are residing in the shadows. So behind that electric fence is your shadow. That's where you've shoved everything you don't want to deal with in your life. And I've shoved a lot of aspects of self in there, because we would like to think that we're all beings of light and everything's lovely, and, but then those ugly sides of self rear their heads time and time again. And for me, I was gifted because of my own experiences in my awakening of trying to find answers to everything. When I started going down my deep dive, which I was telling you about, it started around 2015. That's when my father passed away. That's when I lost my first job. That's when I shut down my business. That's when depression hit. That's when my health started declining. And I mean, it was declining at a rapid speed. I didn't know I was awakening. For those first 5 years, I had no idea I was awakening. And so I wasn't seeking answers from spiritual practices. I was seeking answers where most people seek answers from, which is the traditional medical community. So I was like in my doctor's office weekly asking for referrals to this, that, and the other, like everything you could name. And of the referrals that I had, some of the referrals were for all kinds of counseling services. And so I was trying cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectic behavioral therapy. And I was trying anything I could get my hands on. And privately, I found a somatic counselor. And this gentleman was brilliant. Unfortunately, he ended up moving to Scotland. So that was a short-lived process. But one of the things that we were dealing with in somatic counseling, and I think it was the introduction to me of IFS, integrated family systems, which is understanding that we are one whole, but within us is all these parts. And we were starting to deep dive into all my parts. And me being creative, I invented my prototype for my Oracle deck, which I one day will bring to market. And this is based on all of my aspects of self in here. There we have the wounded child, and we have the anthropologist, the perfectionist, the lost child, many. There's many cards in here. And one of the shadow aspects of me, not all of these are negative things. Some of them are quite happy aspects of self. I've got the mama bear in here. I've always gotten unruly if anyone ever dare come after my son. That didn't go very well for them. That was when all of a sudden my fight response would kick into action, and man, yeah, I would get into defensive mode of him very easily. It was always easier for me to defend other people than it was for myself. And in creating this, one of the archetypes or aspects of self, however you want to define it, and a lot of this, I'm just going to give you some history, comes from the teachings of Jung. It also comes from a lot of things that I learned in Carolyn Myss's book, Sacred Contracts. So this is an excellent book if you want to kind of deep dive into some of your archetypical energies and understand. Now, her theory is that we have 12. My theory is we have a heck of a lot more than that, because I certainly had a heck of a lot more than just 12. She may be talking about 12 primary that play out. And she goes on to say that everybody has 4. Everybody has the same 4, and then you have your own 8. So I'm going to say, yes, I agree. Everybody has the same 4, and then everybody has a whole lot more. So the 4 that everybody has, the 4 archetypes that everybody has are the victim. We all have one of those. The child. The inner child. We all have many of those, as far as I'm concerned. We all have the saboteur. We have the ability to destroy our lives like no one else does. And then we also have the prostitute. Now, the prostitute isn't anything sexual in nature. It's what we are willing to sell ourselves for. It's how we value ourselves. So my inner prostitute would have been a streetwalker because she didn't value herself very highly at all. Now she's a high-rise top dog because she's not putting up with any shit from anyone, you know, where before I would have happily accepted breadcrumbs, love bombing, and bullshit. I don't accept any of those things. I'd rather be alone. My inner prostitute has definitely gone up in life, and she's living in a tall tower now, and she's going to take care of things herself. So that's how we value ourselves, is through that archetype. But one of my archetypes that I've had in the shadow, and I've talked about this a lot lately, because this during this round of ego death, when ego collapsed on the floor, the failure was able to escape from the shadows and come forth. And I have carried this archetype with me my whole life, because that was what I was told that I was. You know, I like this picture. I just created these little cards with pictures. I'm going to do my own artwork with an artist that I'm working with to create pictures that I can mass produce. But these were just like things that I cut out of, made prints of and cut out. And you can see this person standing on all these, looking over, going, you know, why can't I get to that success? So I understand that archetype really well, because my whole life, I've been told I was a failure, and that I wasn't capable, and that I wasn't able, and I wasn't, you know, everything that I did was seen as not good enough. I was never good enough. And so I spent my life in the mindset, and that's what a narcissist, parental narcissist is like. Is they place one child, usually the scapegoat, in the failure position where you can do no right, and then the golden child is in the you can do no wrong. Both is held to a standard that is impossible. Neither is allowed to actually be themselves in authenticity, and any successes that the failure makes are downplayed. So even when I graduated with honors from college, you know, that was downplayed and just kind of disregarded as a meaningless thing that I had done in my life, because I had chosen not to work in the field that was seen as a failure, instead of understanding that what the decision I made at the time was actually the best decision I could make, which was to go gain a greater sense of life experience than I had at the age of 22. So instead of working in the field, I went back to university for a couple of years, and then I had an opportunity to travel and teach in Japan. And I was like, I'm going to go live some life and have some life experience. And I've come back to where I started from. I've come full circle in my own life and used what I've learned to heal myself. And now I'm online and helping and heal others. But, you know, I guess she never got to see me come full circle and see that I wasn't a failure. Even if she did, I'm sure she would still think that I'm a failure and that I'm failing now, profoundly failing. But that's okay. I'm no longer internalizing other people's opinions of me. I'm also no longer viewing my failure from the point of view of embarrassment, shame, or something that should be hidden in the shadows, because through this experience of trying to deal with this pain situation, as well as other situations that have been testing me through these initiations on this spiritual awakening, I have really been in the energy as of late of feeling like, oh, geez, I really failed these things. And then I sat with the failure. Failure and I were in bed together, my bedfellow, and really allowing myself to sit in the energy. And what I realized is, although I did not have a life where I just went from a nice little life to like happy success and then lived happily ever after. And hey, for those that did, kudos to you. But what I did is I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried. And with this, I've tried and I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. So being a failure has taught me to be persistent. It's taught me to fall down and not give up and get back up again and try again and try again and try again. So I didn't stop at dentist number 1. I'm now going to what will be dentist number 6. And I'm going to be noisy about it and say, you know, these are my pictures, these are my x-rays, these are my scans, this is my theory. Please get me in to see an oral surgeon. What's the fastest way to do that? What is your plan? Because it's because I'm a failure that I'm able to get there. Because the fact is, if you've got 2 people and one is a failure, a practiced failure, they're going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. So, and where one is resigned, they're not going to keep trying. And so they may not fail because they may not do anything. They may stay in the same city that they've lived in their entire life and keep within the comfort zone and stay in the familiar dysfunctional marriage and just do the same thing over and over again and call themselves a success. Well, if that is what success is, I'd rather be a failure. I'd rather leave a marriage that I'm not being treated well in. So if my marriage is a failure, so be it. I'd rather be free after a failed marriage than stuck in a dysfunctional one. If me not making it in any particular town that I lived in is a failure, so be it. I've lived in Tokyo, Japan. I've lived in Ireland for 10 years. I've traveled independently as a single mom. I've lived in multiple cities around Ontario in Canada. I've traveled extensively. So the fact that I haven't like made it in any one particular place is, on the one hand, a failure. On the other hand, my adventurous spirit, my risk taker, my willing to give it my all, my willingness to show up in truth, in absolute foolhardiness in regards to my love life. I've always been a fool for love, and dive in. If I'm going to experience it, I'm going to experience it fully, even if I'm going to fail at it. And along this, what I think is at times a very toxic interpretation of the twin flame journey, is this notion that if you heal enough, you'll make them come back. And so I was feeling like a failure because obviously I hadn't healed enough. And when you tell somebody with my mind, to do something to get a desired result, I'm going to keep trying and trying and trying. I'm going to keep failing and failing and failing. And so today I'm seeing the archetype of the failure in such a beautiful, loving light that, I love my failure. I love my inner aspect of me that is a failure, because she just keeps on trying. She just does not resign herself. She just keeps on plugging away at it until she's going to get what she wants. And it may take me my lifetime to find the results that I'm looking for, but I'm not going to give up, because I'd rather try and fail and try again than not try at all. And I'm not going to settle for less than. Because my inner prostitute has learned what her value is, and my inner, all these other aspects of myself are that come out to play. Here's another card, the Warrior, and any of these others that come out is I'm going to just keep plugging away at it. You're going to see me fall like you did yesterday. I was in a very fallen state of being burned from the inside out, physical pain, emotional turmoil, ego death, in a state of absolute collapse. And then I'm going to get right back up again. And I'll do it again, and I'll do it again, and I'll do it again. So I think it's really important that we recognize those aspects of ourselves that we think are undesirable, and we paint as negative. You even say the word failure to people, and they react very strongly, and they're like, oh, don't call yourself that. Oh, don't say that. But no. I'm damn proud of my failure. I'm insanely proud of it, because I'm gonna keep knocking on doors and keep banging on a system, and keep standing up and being truthful, and keep calling out bullshit. And I'm gonna keep on keeping on. And that's brave. That's courageous. That's something I respect. So while a piece of ego fell to the floor, failure stepped forward and said, "Hey, wait a second here. I have value. I've brought a lot to your life that needs to be honored and respected." So I guess today I wanted to do a thank you to everybody that has been supporting me on my own journey, because it's been flippin' arduous, and there's been a lot of fall downs and get back up agains. And I wanted to let you know that, if you're feeling like a failure, then pat yourself on the back, because you rock. That's a warrior. Somebody that's willing to take a risk, somebody that's willing to state the truth, somebody that's willing to write that email or that text message that says, listen, I need to tell you the truth, and I think I'm in love with you. That's courageous. Even when it turns around and goes to shit, that's courageous. I'd rather be me than be the opposite. So I would. I absolutely would. And I'll stand on top of my failures. And, what I've managed to accomplish in the last 5 years is astronomical. So anybody that's still standing on the sidelines in their comfort zone, lobbing nonsense like I'm deeply flawed, or I'm a failure, or anything else, I dare you to walk in my footsteps. I dare you to be brave enough to fail at anything. Fail at anything. See how well you get on, because I have just as many successes as I do failures, and I'm not done yet. I'm just starting. It's taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to, and I thought that I would have accomplished a lot more than I have in the last year. But when you're in chronic pain, that's exhausting. And when you've got a spiritual awakening that's happening that keeps pulling you down and ripping you down, it's to pull you down so that you can commune with your inner failure and say, hey, wait a second, maybe it's not such a bad thing to be a failure. Maybe it's not such a bad thing to have inner child wounds. Maybe it's not such a bad thing to be imperfect. Maybe in this time out, when God has put you into isolation, into seclusion, isn't for punishment, even though it feels like it. But a really great gift for you to commune with you. And if your finances aren't the way they are, want them to be, well, time's not up yet. You still have time to figure that shit out. One of my besties and I is always talking about how we need to still unfuck our money. And I'm like, it'll happen when it happens. We got to let go of all these expectations of ego. Because it's ego that has learned the script that others in our lives have said to us over the years. So as a child, if you grew up with the scapegoat archetype as part of your programming, then failure might be built into that, and failure might say in your ego would be like, oh, you've got some debt. Yeah, I do. And your business isn't got the numbers quite that you need. No, my business doesn't. But I'm going to keep plugging at it, and I'm going to fall down, and I'm going to get right back up, and I'm going to fall down and get right back up, and I'll build my website, and I'll build these things when Divine says it's time to build. And part of this is learning that you're not in charge. You can use your will for the greater good of that is, God is propelling you towards something, but you'll be paused, you'll be delayed, you'll be isolated, you'll be hermited, you'll be, nothing will happen while you're in the void, and it'll be all kinds of crazy that happens, and you will feel like you're not getting anywhere, but really maybe you're getting somewhere. Maybe you're getting closer to who you truly are, and loving all those aspects of yourself that previously you shoved down in shame, saying wasn't good enough, and really that they're the best gifts of all. The best gifts of all. So today we're embracing failure. Yep. I failed at love, but I gave it the old one too. I stood forward with honesty. I know what I'm worth. Maybe one day I'll receive that whole soulmate, that higher level soulmate or whatever, because I'm off this this little nonsensical of, if I try harder, then I'm going to prove myself. I don't need to prove myself to anyone. I've proven myself to me. I've proven myself to my lost child, my little girl. I've proven myself that I'll never ever put myself in a situation where I settle for less than I deserve, and I'll keep failing until I get it. I'll keep failing until I get it, because I'm not going to stop and say, okay, well, this is the best that I can do. I did that once. That was my marriage. I'll never do that again. This is the best I can do. No, it's not the best I can do. I can do better. I can do better. So I'm going to keep trying and failing and trying and failing until I get exactly what I deserve. And I'm excited to see what that is, because my willingness, my endurance, my strength, my bravery, my honesty, my integrity, those are pretty damn awesome characteristics that the failure can utilize until one day that failure turns into a great success. So with that all said, I'm sending you out there all of my love, and one day, I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll see you in your town as I'm traveling around trying new adventures on for size, and give you a hug. Or who knows what the next failure or success will be. But whatever it is, I'll get back up again. That's what I do. I'm like a weeble who wobbles. Remember that? The weebles, they wobble, but they can't fall down. That's me. I'm a weeble. I'll just bounce right back up again. And I wanted to come on and tell you that because, one, I didn't want anyone to worry about me, because I've bounced back up again, and I will continue to bounce back up again, even when the pain takes me down to my very, very knees. I'll do whatever it takes to endure, to get to the next thing. Suffering has tried very hard to bring me to my knees, and has succeeded many times over. But every time I've fallen down, I've gotten back up. And so can you. Peace out.